Hello, good afternoon everybody, and welcome to TCG's 1 Week at a Time programme. If you've been following the programme over the last few months, you would have got used to seeing the lovely Claire Moore from Peaks Travel Elite in conversation with April Hutchinson, the editor of TCG Luxury. Peaks Travel Elite, as you may know, was the UK and Ireland's #1 travel agency as part of TTG's top 50 travel agencies for 2019. So we were really pleased to be keeping in touch with Claire and finding out on a week-to-week basis what had been going on up at Peaks Travel Elite in Shrewsbury. But last week we held our TTG top 50 travel agencies winners party. That's on Thursday night, at which we revealed which single category champion had actually won overall and beaten all of the other category champions to be named the UK and Ireland's #1 travel agency for 2020. And that winner was Deben Travel. Hooray! So really excited today to be introducing Lee Hunt from Deben Travel to you, who is now our current UK and Ireland's #1 travel agency, and still reveling in the glory of finding out last Thursday that he and the team had won this amazing award. So Lee, thank you very much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you, very well.
And talk us through sort of last Thursday night and Friday and the weekend then. It's such a big award to win, isn't it? And how have you been feeling?
Yeah, Thursday night was somewhat of a shock. I've been trying to get into the habit of after work going for a bit of a walk actually, because the uniform's a little tighter now since lockdown. And so, yeah, went for a walk down to the local beach here in Woodbridge. And I thought, well, I'll just dial into the award ceremony from the beach, not expecting to really win anything, if I'm being totally honest. And yeah, well, lo and behold, we then scooped the top prize. So yeah, that was fantastic.
Wow, no, it was a brilliant night, wasn't it? We were kind of so sad not to be able to bring everybody together for the physical top 50 party that we should have had back in April, but wanted to do something to get everyone together and try and celebrate in whatever way we could online everybody's amazing success, and obviously announce UK and Ireland's #1 as well. Did you enjoy the event?
Yeah, the event actually worked really well. I was a bit sceptical about a virtual award ceremony, but you know, the event did actually work really well, and obviously there are lots of participants on the call as well. So yeah, overall it went really well. And then after that, when I got back home, I sent a message around to the rest of the team, and we held our own Zoom call, and we all raised a glass and had a little mini celebration on the Thursday evening as well. So yeah, it was a really good evening. I think if ever we needed a boost, it's now.
Yeah, for sure. And I know it's been a difficult, sort of unusual time to be maybe winning awards and shouting about it. Did you still feel like it's been a positive thing to be able to talk to customers about?
I must be honest, before the awards themselves, I was a little sceptical, and particularly with so much still going on at the moment with regards to uncertainty around travelling, refunds, which I'm sure we'll speak about at some stage 1 week. And I didn't want to go out there and really shout from the rooftops about it with so many issues still hanging over our heads. But at the same time, it's given me a massive boost. It really has given the team a really big boost as well. And we've had so many lovely comments through social media and customers popping their heads in to just say well done. The other local businesses in the town all popping in to say congratulations. So, you know, I think, yeah, initially I was sceptical, but actually now it is the best thing that really could have happened.
Yeah, oh, that's great to hear. And something new we did as part of Top 50 this year was working with a radio PR consultancy who helped us try and get our regional champions in particular onto their local radio stations. I know that's something that you managed to do a couple of weeks ago when you found out you were East of England's top agency. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, that's right. I was approached by BBC Radio Suffolk to be on their breakfast show. So it was an early start. But actually, the interview went really well. And not only did we have the opportunity to speak about Deben Travel as a business, our sister company, Cruise Ready, I'm in their store at the moment. But we also obviously got the opportunity to speak about the current challenges that face the travel industry And so that was the breakfast show. And then today, I was approached asking to go back on BBC Radio Suffolk, but on the lunchtime show, and again speak about our overall UK and Ireland win, and the continued challenges that the industry has. But today the focus was more on air bridges and obviously the current news with Spain reopening. So yeah, it's just really great to be a part of it. And if it wasn't for the top 50 win and marketeers playing their part, it's sometimes very difficult to be able to get access to some of these, certainly the larger radio stations. So, you know, I think for the future, they've obviously now got our names, and so I'd like to think would be back in touch with them, you know, in coming weeks and months as well.
Yeah, so they proactively approached you today. You didn't tell
them.
They
approached us. Yeah, we didn't need to go to them at all. So yeah, so that was great. Yeah, and it's you know, it's the BBC and it's Radio Suffolk, and it's something that a lot of our clients will certainly listen to. So those people that don't book with us as well, it kind of gets our name out there, and you know, from a PR perspective, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, I think the breakfast show interview was over 10 minutes long, and if you kind of pop that, if you think about how much an advert would normally cost, well, we wouldn't be able to afford that at the moment. So so to get the PR by way of an interview is even better. It's really good.
Yeah, something we always find when we're kind of talking to the national radio stations or whatever is that them as journalists, just like a lot of consumers, really don't know the difference between a travel agent and a tour operator, and it's just great to have actual travel agents on the radio talking about what you do and the role you play, because they don't really get it either. And so it's no wonder consumers are confused, because you know the journalists and editors aren't experts, and it really does make a difference, I think, when they can, you know, come to you with a travel story angle, rather than automatically going to a travel expert who again won't make that clear distinction, because it's been really important, hasn't it, over the last few months, what is a travel agent, what is a tour operator, and who's got your money, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
That you've felt very frustrated about, haven't you?
Yeah, I think in a customer's mind, they've booked their holiday with their travel agent, and so you know it's something that we've really worked hard on over the last few months by way of social media, and certainly via our weekly newsletter we do to our own databases. Never before have we had to outline, you pay us your money, that goes into, we're part of the Global Travel Group Consortia, your money goes into the client trust account, that then money leaves the trust account and goes to the operator, who in turn pay airlines and ground suppliers, and so now it's cancelled. There obviously is that process that needs to go through for it to come back to you. And you know, before obviously we never ever had the need to explain that to our customers, and I'd say that a large percentage of them did just assume that we had their money. And so yeah, and you're right. You know, when we do interviews, so many people don't appreciate and don't acknowledge that fact. And you know, obviously at a time when you know, financial bonding and so forth is so important, I think it's really important that we make our clients aware where their money is and how it's looked after, how it's protected, and what we're doing as their travel agent to try and get it back to them in a timely manner.
Yeah, I think it's been really interesting as well how some of the most angry customers, I've got a sense just on social media or whatever, have been perhaps those who've booked with a big online player and just haven't been able to get through to anybody. Nobody's answered the phones, nobody's responded to their emails, they've had no information, no update, and they're the ones which have kind of been most furious. And it's just trying to remind the general public that if you do book with a travel agent, you will be able to get hold of them, and they might not have your money, but they'll be working damn hard to try and get it back, and you'll get an answer when you dial that number, which again is a really important message that the consumer media doesn't necessarily really appreciate, I don't think, or hasn't till now, but we're trying to tell that story, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's something for us as travel agents to really shout about, particularly kind of as we start coming out of this. You know, we reply to all emails in a timely manner. We answer the phones all the time. We reply to Facebook and Twitter messages straight away. You know, we have a face. We have a, you know, for us particularly, we have a high street presence as well. You know, we can't hide behind a big corporate name or a call centre. And particularly kind of in our town, it's a relatively small town and people do talk. And so, you know, if you give bad service, it won't take long before that spreads around and everyone will know about it, because yeah, it's obviously incredible how quickly bad news does spread if you're not delivering that service. So I think we've done certainly as much as we can, to the extent where many customers we've refunded out of our own account, out of our own Deben Travel account, and have taken the decision to then wait for tour operators to pay us back. A large percentage of the coronavirus government bounce back loan has been used in refunding customers, because I, as a business owner, didn't agree that customers should wait so long. And, you know, it is obviously a risk, but it's a risk that I'm prepared to take for the sake of the future of my business and the service we deliver. And if that means we now have to wait until, in some cases, March next year to cash in a refund credit note, I see that as a risk worth taking. But some may not, but for me, it just felt like the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I wish I could do it for all our customers that are awaiting refunds, but we simply haven't got that much money in the bank.
No, understandable. So take us back to the beginning, if you can, Lee, just for any listeners who might not be that familiar with you and Deben Travel. What's your career in travel all been about?
Yeah, so started in travel when I was 16. And I'm now 41. Started in travel when I was 16, and I was an apprentice. I got taken on a YTS scheme at Lumpoly in Ipswich, and Ipswich isn't too far away from where I am now. And funnily enough, at that time, never been on holiday, never left the country, never been on an aircraft. So at the age of 16, this all looked very, very glamorous to me. And my assistant manager at Lumpoly was Abigail, who is my assistant manager at Deben Travel now. One of the other team members there, Simon, works for me part-time now. So you know, we've all stayed in touch throughout these years. But yeah, started at Lumpoly, did my apprenticeship for 2 years. Then I went to work overseas for Crystal. I was a ski rep in Austria for a season. Loved skiing then, and still love skiing now. When I came back from working overseas, I then become an assistant manager for, at the time, it was Carlson World Choice, but they were just being merged with Thomas Cook. So came back from being a ski rep, started working for Thomas Cook as an assistant manager, and then worked my way through the ranks with Thomas Cook, really. So I was an assistant manager. I was a manager for Thomas Cook as well, in Sudbury and in Newmarket and various other places in East Anglia, and then I became a regional manager for Thomas Cook. And my first regional manager for Thomas Cook was John Waugh, who's now with Wendy Wu. And I lived in Bury St Edmunds at the time. For those of you that know anything about UK geography, would realise that if I lived in Bury St Edmunds, John Waugh selling the benefits of my closest shop being Bristol. Absolutely. He said, Lee, if you want to become a regional manager, you're going to need to put the hours in. And believe me, I did. So I become regional manager for Thomas Cook covering the Southwest. And my region started in Bristol and finished in Truro.
Oh my goodness.
So most days waking up at 4 a.m, a couple of nights away a week, obviously. But you know, that was great. And I did a couple of years as regional sales manager for Thomas Cook in the Southwest. And then I moved to a bit close to home, Beds, Bucks and Hart, so Milton Keynes, Hemel Hempstead, Bedford, those areas. That was a prestigious region to have, with some very good flagship stores. And yeah, did a couple of kind of secondment roles at Thomas Cook head office, and then I got approached via a headhunting company, and I left the travel industry for almost 5 years, and I worked for Boots. So I looked after the boot stores in central London, worked mostly in optics, but also you know, did secondments to other part of the business as well. And to be honest, just kind of missed travel. Those that have left travel and come back will certainly know what I mean, in that travel does kind of hook you in. And so late one night, I popped some letters that I printed at home through the doors of local retailers on the thoroughfare, on the high street here in Woodbridge, just basically saying if anyone's looking to sell their lease to let me know, because at that stage there wasn't one empty unit on the whole high street. And the next day, yeah, I've got a call from somebody and said, if you want to buy the lease, you can. And that was now, yeah, 8.5 years ago. So yeah, Deben Travel are now, well, they'll be 9 years old in January, and Cruise Ready have just celebrated their 2nd birthday. So yeah, pretty much an entire career in travel with a bit of a sidestep to boots in between.
So you had those 5 years out and then came straight back into launching your own business rather than going back into another agency. That's pretty brave.
Very brave. Some would say stupid. It was 2012 when we opened, and you know, the economy wasn't great at the time, and I, you know, had a few savings, not a lot. Had to go to the bank to get a loan. Had to sell my car, and we opened on the 9th of January 2012. Sat there and just absolutely hoped that someone would come in to book a holiday, because I had no money, credit card out to the max. Wife was furious because I left a really well-paid job to come back to travel. And yeah, I honestly didn't know, I didn't know what I was going to do if it wasn't successful. But on that first day, people came in and booked holidays. And within 2 years of
bookings on day one.
Day one, we did bookings on day one. Our first ever booking was an MSC cruise. I remember it well. And within 2 years, we managed to clear all the debt that we initially had when we had to open the business. And we had a you know, an established team. So yeah, you know, there's no looking back really. It's well, up until a few months ago, everything was going really well.
So when you opened the store, your own store, that's when your former colleagues, you brought them in at that point and kind of, got the gang back.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Abby, my assistant manager, who I was with at Lumpoly back in the 90s, she was working overseas at the time for Etihad, but wanted to come back to be closer to family, and saw an advert that I'd put out. And so, you know, so Abby came back, and obviously the rest of the team that I knew anyway and had kept in contact with, and obviously new people as well. At Deben Travel, we've now got a team of 6, a mixture of full and part-time, and two of those 6 we originally took on as apprentices. One of them left to be cabin crew for Virgin and has since come back again. So, you know, that experience and knowledge that we've got within the team, not only am I really proud of, and our customers absolutely love, because, you know, everyone within the store, if they haven't been there, that they would have researched it and learned a lot about it. But we've got that experience of cabin crew and retail, travel agent workers, people that have worked for cruise lines. So, you know, we have got that experience with the shop, which I think, you know, certainly, you know, held us in good stead for the TCG Awards as well, because we have got that knowledge, and first for learning more as well. Absolutely.
Abigail's commented to say, actually, Lee, you're 42.
Oh yeah, she's right, actually. What a cheat! What a cheat!
Yes, there are other less offensive comments.
That's all right then. That's good.
Yeah, because. Do you think there are elements of that very kind of robust training that you had and kind of working environment that you had at both Lumpoly and Thomas Cook that have shaped how you run your business?
Yeah, definitely.
Positives and negatives, I don't know.
I remember when I worked for Lumpoly, I don't think I was allowed to speak to a customer for about 6 months. I was out in the brochure room, stamping brochures, for honestly the best part of 6 months. But what that did is, first of all, I knew where every single brochure was in that shop. When I'd finished, when I'd finished stamping brochures, I would look through them and learn about, because I'd never been on holiday. I knew nothing. When I'd finished stamping brochures, I'd look through them and learn about places and read up about Mallorca and what have you. And my regional manager at the time, a lady called Jo Hiller, who now books her holidays with me here at Deben Travel, she used to put the fear of God into me, and I think the rest of the team as well, because she would walk in, the doors would fling open, and she would go, "Lee, tell me about Palmer Cathedral," and I'd be, "Oh, Joe, oh well, it's fantastic. It's it's only 30 minutes away from Palmer Airport. It's got one of the largest stained glass windows in Europe. Take a walk down from the cathedral. You've got a lovely marina. You can sit there, have a drink, watch the yachts go by." And I'd be panicking, thinking, "Lee, come on, think of more, think of more." And even now, when Joe comes into the shop now, we're all still a little bit scared. I keep thinking she's going to point me out on one of the window offers being incorrect or something like that. But I certainly think, those early days at Lumpolly kind of put that, the thirst for knowledge, I think, for definite, the thirst of knowledge, the attention to detail, how important customers are, how important the team is. And then when I kind of, worked my way through to Thomas Cook, some of the regional managers I had at Thomas Cook were just absolutely brilliant. And I think kind of, I mentioned John Waugh and his ambitions to get me working in the Southwest. But I think what working with people like John made me feel as well is that it's not just about the business. You need to know the business, and you need to know your figures, and you need to know your figures inside out. But you'll only get there if you get to know your people really well as well. So know your people, get to know the names of their loved ones, and and what they like doing outside of work, and just building up that relationship with them, because you spend so much time with the people that you work with. You've got to get on with them. And so I like to think now that's why kind of the teams at Deben Travel and Cruise Ready are so close, because we do get that time to know each other, and I'd honestly say we do all get along. So yeah, I think those early days certainly have helped me in my career.
And then what changed then when you launched your own business, and you became a business owner and you were independent? What were the key differences between how you were running your business as an independent and what you'd learned and taught others on for so many years?
Yeah, I think a lot of it I stuck with. Working for a corporate company like Thomas Cook, who I absolutely loved working for. A lot of the systems and processes they had in place, had been fine-tuned over the years and worked extremely well. And they could be taken from a large business down to a small independent business, pretty well actually. There were, however, at the same time, a lot of systems and processes that were, dare I say, tick box exercises, that when I opened up my own store, felt that actually from a time perspective, it could possibly take us away from what's important, and that is serving the customer. So yeah, certainly from over the years, there's kind of, examples of good and bad. And I'd like to think I'd kind of, sat down and had a real good think about the good and the bad, and managed to pull out the best of what I'd learned over the years. But also at the same time, speaking to the other team members that were there as well, because, we've got experience of people that had worked for Etihad and Virgin Atlantic and, some of the biggest and best companies in the world. It would have been foolish of me not to sit down with them and say, "Do you think this works well?" I'm in the shop. I was in the shop, and I am still in the shop 6 days a week. I should have a day off, but I don't. I like being in the shop every day, and I like to think my management style is more of kind of a cooperative, really. I think we all get stuck in, and we all do what needs to be done.
And when did you open the second store then, the Cruise Focus branch? And talk us through a little bit of thinking there of making that specific.
Yeah, well, we were getting to the stage in Deben Travel where business was booming. We were really busy. In Deben Travel, we've only got 4 desks. And I'll be totally honest, not one of us in the Deben Travel were particularly passionate about cruises. We all knew a bit about cruising. We'd all been on cruises, but we weren't passionate about it. So it got to the stage where we had the opportunity to take over the lease of another unit. It's literally 20 steps from Deben Travel. So took over the lease here 2 years ago. And really the thinking behind it was, if I could bring in a team of specialist cruise consultants that are really passionate about cruising and know everything there is to know. So if someone comes in and says, I'm looking for this type of ship, or I'm a solo traveller, or I'm looking to visit these areas of the world, the team here off the top of their head would absolutely know the ins and outs of that cruise. And when in Deben Travel, we try to do the training on those areas with the rest of the shall we say, your tailor-made and your, dare I say, normal holidays to focus on as well. It just becomes so much more of a challenge to also become specialists in cruise. So brought on a fantastic team here at Cruise Ready, and you know, cruising's in their blood. Even our apprentice, Kyra, that's only just turned 18. She's only just turned 18 and she's been on at least a dozen cruises with her family.
Wow.
Because her family enjoy cruising. And so to find an apprentice at the age of, she was 17 when we took her on, to love cruising as much as Kyra did, well, I thought, well, this is all my dreams come true, really, you know. So everyone in here really does know what they're talking about. And well, January was the most successful month that they ever had. And then all this happened.
Yes, I know. Frustrating timing for us because we did all of the top 50 judging in February, as you know.
Yes.
We came to you in February.
Yeah.
And it was just a couple of weeks later when it all started kicking off. So it was, it's been a fun, very funny year in that sense. But what was your experience of taking part in the top 50 judging? I know you've won East of England 3 years on the trot now, so you're quite a seasoned top 50 entrant in some ways. But how much effort and time do you have to put into taking part? And apart from just, you know, winning a trophy, are there other benefits of going through that?
I think what we've learned from previous years is not to wait until the awards nominations are open to then start trying to think about and collate all your evidence for what you've done over the last 12 months. That's the time consuming bit. And not only then do you maybe forget about what you've done over the last 12 months, but sometimes it's then time consuming or difficult to find the evidence to back that up. So certainly throughout 2019, whenever we sponsored a local team, supported a local charity, planted over 700 trees, we kept the photo evidence, we kept the emails, we put it all in one central place, because we knew when nominations were to open again, it's easy. We've already got everything that we need. And so I'd certainly say those that are planning on putting themselves forward for next year, you know, now is the time, particularly with some of the good news stories many of us agents will be getting back. You know, we are getting lots of great emails from clients thanking us for their help and support. Now is the time to keep hold of those emails and the evidence, because that'll really help you December, January, when the nominations start again. And I think for us, you know, that you kind of, as an independent that only has the one business, unlike when you worked for, say, Thomas Cook, you would have senior management and other people say, well done, give you a pat on the back, send you a certificate. You know, when you work by yourself, you don't get any of that. No one really ever says well done, because it's just you. And, you know, it's quite difficult to kind of pat yourself on the back, really. So I think when the judges came, so when Sophie from TTG and Simon from Jet2 came and actually did the judging, after they left, there's a period of reflection for me where I just sat back and thought, you know what, we do a lot. You know, we a lot of people might just think, oh, you do it anyway, but actually many may not just do that anyway. It's stuff that we do to go above and beyond a lot of the time. And it's not until you finish that process that you do sit back and reflect with the rest of the team, you know, and just say to each other, you know, we do a lot here, so well done, everybody. You know, and let's go out and celebrate. And obviously winning itself, well, at the moment, the PR boost is needed now more than ever. So certainly at the moment, we're going through what I'd call a celebration, but more of a died down celebration, where we are certainly, working up. We're making people aware that we won, but we're going to have a second boost of that later on in the year, when people are really in the right frame of mind for booking their holidays again. And so we'll have another big boost of publicity towards the last quarter of the year as well.
Yeah, you have a nice client event or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe.
absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And are you able to, looking back over previous wins as well, attribute any new clients directly to winning East of England and getting that publicity in the local area or whatever? Are you able to see any customers who wouldn't have come to you at all otherwise?
Yeah, no, we are. I think this year is the first year where we have been able to acknowledge those customers that we've had brand new from being number one in East of England last year. Because previous to that, our back office system, in all honesty, wasn't good enough to track how people would find out about us. But now we're able to track that better. We are able to actually say, these people have booked here because they heard that we were the number one travel agency in the East of England. Because whenever we do have new clients book, it's important that we always ask them how they found out about us. And yeah, that's how then we're able to track, as where we spend our money in future. Did they find out about us from the radio, or was it a certain local magazine that we advertise in? Was it because of the the shirt sponsorship that we have with a local football club? Was it because of the charity work we did? So I think it helps us in future be able to direct where we're spending our money, if you like. So yeah, and so back to the original question, we're absolutely able to see that it has benefited us financially as well. Yeah,
that's incredible, and hopefully winning the UK and Ireland's number one is just such a impressive title, isn't it? To be the best we've probably had about 500 nominations for top 50 this year, so to be the best out of 500 is just absolutely phenomenal, Lee, and I hope you and your team are really, really proud and chuffed to bits.
Yeah, we're really proud. We're over the moon and just can't wait till we get everyone together to have a real good party, to be honest, because it is strange times in which we've won the accolade, and so yeah, just looking forward to getting the entire team back together and celebrating properly with all of them, because they're the guys that obviously are there every day and putting in the hard work, and yeah, it'll be good to celebrate with them.
Yeah. Oh, wonderful. We actually have run out of time. I can't believe it's past 2:30 already, but we always try and keep this programme just to the 30 minutes, Lee. So it's been great to introduce you to our 1 week at a time programme today and find out a bit more about your background and talk about the win. But there's loads more that we want to talk to you about, including, the current challenges, but also a bit more about your team and what's going on in your business and your strategy for the future and whatnot. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we will hopefully see you again next week for our next programme with you.
Yep, we'll see you next Monday.
Thank you, Lee, and thanks everyone for tuning in. You've had lots of nice messages on Facebook too, Lee, from people sending in their support. So that's lovely.
Oh, great, excellent.
We'll call again next week, and
next week.
Stay safe in the meantime.
See you. Cheers. Bye.